opinion, the community has said, improve the academics, and there's nothing really that you're saying to assure them that you're going to make academics, not just the buildings will make the students learn more, but here's your strategic plan, here's how we're going to do it. And so just really making sure that the academics are there is important, because I think if you build the academics, the buildings and everybody else will get on.
Yeah,
on board.
I think that's exactly it. I think you know, the only thing I would just add on the topics of buildings is that it's not just the structures that, I mean, structures can change the culture of a place, right? Mm-hmm. So I like your question, which is, hey, we got to look good to perform good. I think you're right. I mean, I think the overlying culture can change things. Mm-hmm. You know, the challenge is that we do recognize that it does take time in order to get the performance going. Mm-hmm. And so what Katrina's talking about is very important. You got to communicate where the progress is being made, such that people can then say, okay, yep, they're moving in the right direction, they're moving in position, and now I think you'll find a bigger appetite for what's next.
And I will add this, there's an opportunity to build a lot of partnerships to be able to look good and find ways to support all the objectives of the school and the community. We just need to tap into them so that we can get both.
Okay. Now that I know you guys' philosophies and ideals, we'd like to get to more the personal things about you guys. So first I'd like to know what colleges did you attend?
Okay. I went to school. I started, that's where I met Mr. Rose. I started at a community college in Rochester, New York. Finished up there, and I did my 4-year degree. I went to school for physical therapy, but I went back to my first love, which is psychology. And then I did my master's in education in counseling, and then my postmaster's clinical endorsement. And my master's is from Xavier University, and my postmaster's clinical endorsement is from the University of Cincinnati.
I'm a product of public schools. Went to public schools all my life up until college, and then I went to a state-funded community college. After that, I went to a state-funded 4-year college. You know, so public school has been a good part of what I've done for half of my life. I graduated and then went to a top 20 MBA program, University of Rochester, and that's how I got recruited by Procter & Gamble, and that's how I got to Cincinnati. I think that, you know, in addition to our backgrounds, what you'll find is that because of the fact that we spend half our lives and we also both teach at the collegiate level, I think that's really where the connection between this community and education really starts to happen. So we've been around education for all of our lives. We've been around public education for all of our lives. And, you know, we decided to make Cincinnati our home. And so this is an opportunity for us to kind of contribute and give back.
So from what I see family is important to you, important thing to you guys. So I'd like to know how you could balance out the extra responsibility with taking care and spending time with your family.
I think it comes down to focus. Right now I belong to several regional boards that, you know, command a little time, but they're not unbearable. Like every board I'm on meets every other month, right? So I'm only on 3, so I'm not that active in terms of eating up my time. With regard to balancing family time, family is always important. The good part about being part of the school board is that it's right up the street, you know, so we're in the community doing that. But we've been actively involved in community work for, again, 2 decades. So the idea of being on the board, the idea of spending time, you know, improving the district is not a foreign notion. We would probably pull back from some other things and make sure that we have the proper balance between the work that we have to do for the community and obviously preserving what we have to do with our families.
And I'm a mother. We balance a lot, and we balance it very well. But at the end of the day, my family is the number one priority. Sean and I have been very adept at understanding how to balance each other and what we decide to take on.
So, government is really structured to be able to provide for the common good so that all of us could have the things that we would need to do. The way government works, though, is that it works by what is called bringing voices to the table, right? And so people can decide things on how much money to spend here or this policy or this law by gauging how it will impact other people. The trick in government is making sure that all voices get to the table, to those who are going to then decide something, right? And so I think that's what's really good is the fact that, particularly at your age, being a diverse student, one of the things we're coming up against now is we need more great minds to get the voices such that better decisions and better laws are made that resonate with all of us, right? And so I think it's really good that you're looking at this. I think the school board is just one example, but the principles in terms of what you just talked about here are important to our next president as well as to your next council member. So government is good. It feels like a whole bunch of social science and history. That's cool, but the role that history plays is that you have an opportunity if you were to pursue something in government not to repeat a mistake. So that's really what government's about. It's about the allocation of resources, and if we can get more voices to the table to reflect some and improve some of the things that you see that are an issue, then government's working for you. If you're sitting around with a whole bunch of issues and you're trying to talk to people and you don't have it, and nobody can hear you, that means you got the wrong people there. And that's where you got to really change the leadership in terms of the people that are talking. You got to make sure you got to pick people that are going to represent your point of view and bring your voice to the table. So the reason I was asking that because I thought your questions got at a lot of stuff. The question that you selected actually are the questions that are on the mind of a lot of people, man. Twice your age, 3 or 4 times your age. And now what you have to do is think about, okay, well, government is really the one convening body where we got to figure out how all these voices speak. I think your discussion on schools is very important. I think your discussions on how to work with leadership is very important. I think you want to place people there that are going to work for your interests, and everybody is that's important. So that's why I just want to kind of leave that with you. I work with a lot of government officials all the time, and it's really the people that come into their offices are the ones they hear, and sometimes you see that reflected in policy that they create, laws that they create. So keep pushing, man. If this is your thing, if you think you like it, and continue on with it. If it's nothing that doesn't resonate with you, take a look around. If there are some things that you'd like to see change, try to work with those who are going into government or in government to see if you can get your voice heard. I think your questions to us help us, because now we're sitting here thinking, oh, okay, well, Zach brought a point of view that that needs to be considered.
I think it's very important. Like Sean said, if you don't like it, that's fine, but really start to pay attention what's happening in your community. I had the opportunity to sit down with 3 young women who are who attend Winton Woods High School, and they were sharing with me what their issues were. And so we pushed back and said, so what are you going to do about it? And just to know that you do have a voice. You do have convening power. If there's, just start to watch to see how things get done, how decisions are made, and how do they affect you. Because oftentimes when you look at the leadership, you realize that they're making decisions that impact you. And are you, as a young African-American male, just going to take what they give you? Or do you feel empowered enough that you know the avenue to be able to respectfully challenge some things And as you get older, directly, you know, and just challenge the things that you feel that are important to you. So I think it's important. I didn't do that as a young person. It was more or less like, you know, parents ruled with their iron fists, do what I say, and you should always obviously be respectful, but you do, what grade are you in?
I'm a junior.
You're a junior. You're going to get ready to go to college, and you're going to start to bump up against the world, and you're going to bump up against practices and things that just may not sit well with you. But just know where your voice lie and how you can use that voice constructively to impact and make the world better.
And last thing I'm going to share with you real quick is this wonderful thing about government is that nobody agrees, but everybody's entitled to their point of view, right? So even when it looks like everybody kind of agrees and votes yes, each vote that you see when somebody says yes, they actually have a different point of view. And so, you know, I think that's where you gotta find people who don't think the same. Because here's what ends up happening: somebody can be here on this issue, right? Let's say hypothetically, somebody can be here in this issue, and somebody can be over here in this issue. Government brings everybody to the middle. So no issue in government right now that ever was passed was purely what it was written to be in the beginning. They put things out there so it can gather input, and then the outcome is something that's a combined document or law that has other people's input in it, right? So it's okay. That's what I love about government. That's what I love about running for school board. It is okay to have a different opinion, right? Because what we need in different opinions is to challenge it such that 1 + 1 = 5. We don't need 1 + 1 = 2 because everybody expects that. We need a combination of some of the most brilliant thinking such that this builds on top of this, that builds on top of this, and then at the end of the day, we have something that we didn't even imagine was possible.
And I would encourage you, win or lose, whether we get there, students, you should advocate for a voice on the board.
Yeah,
you should advocate to have a voice on the
like
board
a student advocate.
Because they're making decisions about you all day, and I'm sure. Can you tell me one thing you don't like that you would like to see changed? What is one thing that you would like? I can tell you what the girls told me, but
What the girls tell you?
well, one thing that they said was uniforms. They didn't like uniforms, but they didn't feel as if they had a voice. So think about, you know, I think the administration would be agreeable to hearing the student voice. And if they're not, then like you said, like Sean said, that's an opportunity to say, well, I do have a voice. How do we come together such that my voice is heard?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of ways to get that voice on there. You can say, hey, once a month, you know, we want a representative from our student body to come talk to the board during the board meeting.
They have the teachers.
They got the teachers that come.
The Teachers Association is there, but they don't have the students.
And the board gives out awards to the students that get like recognition. I mean, there's still. So my thing is that because of the fact that we're all built differently and we have different thinking, different experiences, I think what we have to do is build an environment where everybody's experience can build on top of something else, and I think we come out with something big. But when we have just one way of thinking about things, it just limits things. And that's what we're starting to see right now is the fact that we got some areas that are pretty limited. We got to get a little bit more innovative in terms of just how we solve our problems. So, you know, again, thanks for the time. I think this really opened my eyes. I'm very, 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 very happy that you had this in 11th grade. I didn't start doing anything related to government until I got to my second year in college. So you are ahead of the curve.
Obama.
You are ahead of the curve. So
yes.
Good luck to you. And if there's anything I could do, future assignments or anything else you got coming up, just let me know.
And just future assignments, but even I have worked with students on getting ready for college. So if you or your mom have any questions or need any assistance with resources and things like that, just shoot me an email.
Awesome.
That's good. That's great.
Cool. Did we get